Events are related to our age and we're developmentally sensitive. Then there are also socioculturally graded events, subculture events that occur to all of us within a culture. Like right now, we're all affected to some extent by an economic slowdown, by a war that's draining our economy, by some natural disasters that have cost a lot. So our country's growth and development affects all of us, but in different kinds of ways based upon our age. Somebody who's in the middle of their income producing period is much more affected by, for example, real estate values being reduced and not being able to move out of a home or an apartment into another larger facility than someone who is at a later age and has already accumulated a good deal of equity in their home. So the age-graded events and the socioculturally graded events sometimes interact specifically for a particular cohort. And then there are also what we call non-normative life events. That means that these are unique to the particular person. It's a thing that happens. It's an unexpected event, but it may have an enormous importance for how an individual develops and grows. Critical to this perspective is the whole notion that we do have sensitive periods or critical periods for development. In particular, the first year of life seems to be very critical for the development of attachment. Self-esteem seems to be developed throughout childhood, but the early school years are very important in establishing self-esteem and what we call self-efficacy. And then relationship building is in the late teens, early 20s, etc. Another important developmental concept is the notion of nature versus nurture. Now, the Human Genome Program, which has given us a huge amount of information about genetic determination, is giving us more information about how genetic information determines a range. Usually we talk about nature providing a range of possibilities and nurture determining where on that range we're going to be. With psychological factors, there's always multi-causation, and the relationship of nature and nurture is quite complex. So we don't try to oversimplify it. We want to look at each psychological aspect and determine what percentage is nature, what percentage is nurture, and to what extent can nurture affect that range that we're given through heredity. Then the last thing that I wanted to say in this little video lecture is that we need to be particularly conscious of experimental confounding variables in developmental psychology, particularly because of two issues. One is cohort effect, that a particular cohort has similar experience, so they will respond in similar ways. It may look like that's age-related if you do cross-sectional research, but in fact it's not. It's just that, for example, people in their 80s heard Frank Sinatra when they were teenagers, so they liked Frank Sinatra. I heard the Rolling Stones and the Beatles when I was a late middle childhood teenager, and so I liked the Rolling Stones and the Beatles. My daughter heard Bright Eyes when she was a teenager, and so she likes Bright Eyes. So that's a cohort effect. Now, another effect that's very important is called history effect. And history effect refers to the number of times somebody has experienced something. So in developmental research, if somebody's experienced something numerous times, it may appear that they are doing better when in fact it's just that they've had more experience. These two effects, cohort effect and history effect, make the traditional developmental research somewhat spurious, somewhat invalid. Cohort effect greatly affects cross-sectional research. history effect greatly affects longitudinal research. And so the best research paradigm for developmental psychology is what we call cross-sequential research, where you have cross-sectional research, but you repeat it on additional cohorts. And you also have longitudinal research, but you add new groups each period of retesting so that you have some group of that age who has had no previous experience with the testing that's being done. Cross-sequential research is very expensive, and that makes developmental psychology very difficult to research. But we have gained a great deal of knowledge in the last 2-3 decades in developmental psychology, and this is of particular importance to us for the future. As longevity increases, we're going to be living past, well, at the turn of the 20th century, from the 19th to the 20th century, the age span was 45 years of age. That was the average age span. People could expect to live to 45. Now, at the turn from the 20th to the 21st century, the lifespan expectation is 77 for men and 78 for women. And I expect it's going to continue to increase. So we really need to know how age does affect various functions so that we can have not only a long life, but a productive and a content life as well. So I'm hoping that you're going to enjoy the class. I've kind of covered a little bit of the first 2 chapters. You have the PowerPoint, you have the typed lecture. I'm looking forward to meeting with you, and I hope that this is going to be an enjoyable and exciting term for you.